Donald Hamaker, DJ to those who knew him best, was a 43-year-old from Girardville, Pennsylvania. He was a father who liked taking care of his mother. In the early morning of May 28th, 2024, DJ and another man got a ride to a gravel pit to fish. DJ allegedly drowned in the water. He was never seen again. I'm Ed Denzel, and this is Unfound. Over the past 9 years, we've been asked to analyze disappearances that seemingly occurred in Rivers, Jake LaChale, Ben Archer, Shane Fell, next to or on a lake. The Pickering Six should come to mind. The Atlantic Ocean. Did Tony Schwark and DJ Mollahan, in separate incidents, drown or not? And even in this Gulf that I can see from my balcony, did the Marco Island 3 and Tiffany Daniels, once again in separate cases, disappear there or somewhere else? Each location has its different challenges in regards to searching. Rivers have currents, and those others are thousands of square miles. But what if the location was something different? Well, with DJ Hamaker, we have a site that doesn't have a current. And in relative terms, it's not that large. Law enforcement continues to insist he drowned. But a year and a half later, is that theory still holding water? And now a summary of the case. DJ Hamaker was one of 6 children. And in a twist, due to an adoption situation, he had a brother who also had the nickname DJ. Yes, really. DJ was into sports in school and graduated. But that's when the problems started. He eventually had drug issues, which led to issues with the law. In fact, to be honest, DJ has one of the longest criminal records we've encountered at Unfound. Yet, starting in about 2021, DJ seemingly had begun to turn himself around. He started taking care of his mother. He got a job and was taking online classes. DJ even bought a house. But it was that purchase that was causing DJ problems at the time of the disappearance. The seller seemingly wanted the house back. So in the early morning of May 28th, 2024, DJ and Jimmy, a guy who DJ had recently met, decided to go fishing at the A-hole. Yes, that's what it's called. It's a gravel pit filled with water. They were dropped off there by DJ's girlfriend, Teresa, who also lived at the house. She would return at noon to pick them up. However, when she showed up at the pit, she found Jimmy sleeping on shore and DJ's kayak out in the middle of the water. DJ was nowhere to be seen. Fire and rescue were called and searched both the water and the land. They did not find DJ. He was never seen again. Further surveying of the scene has led some people to believe that everything had been staged and that no fishing had actually taken place during all those hours. Water is a mixed bag when connected to disappearances. If cars were involved, easy. If people alone, very hard. But then the kind of body of water must be taken into account. How deep? Does it have a current? Etc. Like I said, it's a mixed bag. Contemplate the complexities water adds to resolving disappearances, while you also try to answer these 3 questions during the interview. Number 1, if you have experienced fishing, does the scene that day seem staged to you? Number 2, How believable is it that DJ's body is still in the a-hole and just hasn't been found yet? And number 3, how inclined are you to think that DJ's disappearance has something to do with the deed situation? DJ's family leans toward the idea that this was not an accident. The guest for this episode is DJ's mother, Julie. Unfound news. The truck Ian Rogers drove on the day he disappeared has been located about 30 minutes from his last known location. Searches continue in that area for Ian himself. Next, I wanted to make the Unfound database how-to video this past weekend, but there are still a couple issues with it that must be corrected before I can do so. But trust me, it's getting close. Finally, by the time you hear this, I will be in Pennsylvania, seeing my dad. Not sure how long I will be there, but it's clear that I didn't bring enough warm Florida air with me. I'm so happy to have on this episode of Unfound the mother of DJ Hamaker, Julie. Julie, welcome to Unfound.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And we're going to get into it a little later, but you are friends with a former guest of Unfound, Rachel, correct? She has been helping you, right? Right?
Yes, she's adorable.
Yes.
Yeah, I love Rachel.
Yes, and we're going to talk about her because she's been at least a little bit influential in everything that's going on and trying to figure out what happened to DJ. We're going to talk about her a little later, but I just want everybody in the audience to understand that you are listening to a woman who is has become good friends with a prior guest of Unfound. Let's start here, Julie. Just tell us a little bit about your family. How many kids do you have besides DJ? If you want to mention them, I want to give you an opportunity. Just talk a little bit about your family, maybe everybody growing up, whatever you want to do. It's up to you.
Well, altogether there are 6 children.
Wow.
We had a combined marriage. He had 3 children. I had 1 child, and then DJ came along. And when DJ was 13, we adopted a boy from California.
Wow.
So altogether there were 6 of them.
Wow. And please break it down. How many boys, how many girls?
5 boys, 1 girl.
How did the girl feel about that? How does the girl feel about that, Julie?
As when I got pregnant with DJ, her only remark was, "I just don't want a girl."
She liked having all these boys as siblings.
Well, she liked being the only girl.
Oh, yeah, gets all the girl attention. Okay, very, very interesting. And I think it's interesting that you adopted a boy from California. I know you probably don't know this, Julie, but I am adopted. So I was given up for adoption when I was born and then met my biological family years later. But I was raised as an only child, and Ed and Loretta Densel adopted me when I was a month old. So I know a lot about that. So good for you, giving a child a life like that. Wow.
Well, we got him through a foster care. And we had him for so long that it was just like he belonged to us anyway.
Yeah.
But we did end up adopting him. He was 14, DJ was 13. Wow. And both their names were DJ, so that really ran into problems.
Oh my goodness, you had 2 kids with the same name. Wow.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, did they ended it ended up like splitting off? I mean, what did you end up doing regarding that? You just
well, one was D and one was DJ. So
okay. So
when their friends called the house, they would let us know which one they wanted to talk to. So
okay. And how close was DJ in age to this other DJ? How close in age?
A year.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, that might get a little confusing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And where did everybody grow up? I'm guessing somewhere in Pennsylvania, maybe eastern Pennsylvania, but where?
The 4 oldest grew up in Berks County, and then DJ and the other DJ grew up in Shippensburg.
Okay. All right.
Cumberland County, I guess that is.
Okay, so Shippensburg, mostly talking about Eastern Pennsylvania. Some of the listeners know I'm from Pennsylvania, but I'm from the other side of the Allegheny Mountains. I'm from the western side of Pennsylvania, which is almost in some ways a little bit like a different country. Where I grew up is almost a little more like Ohio. Okay, well, thank you for explaining that. Maybe one more thing just about your family. Obviously 6 kids, age range from the youngest to the oldest. I mean, how many age difference are we talking here?
There's 20 years.
Wow.
The oldest one, Joe, is 61, and DJ would be 45, so it's 15 years, I guess.
Wow. What we're saying here is pretty expansive.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Good job, Julie. Thank you. Let's now, of course, the reason we're here, unfortunately, is because of DJ's disappearance. So let's start here talking about the topic, of today's discussion. And, just tell the listeners a little bit about DJ. Maybe you want to start when he was a boy. What was he into? Interests, hobbies, personality. We like to get to know the missing people here on Unfound pretty well. Because, of course, most people do not know these people. So we want to feel like we know them. What can you tell the listeners about DJ?
DJ was not an honor student, but he was a good student. He was a B average. He participated in sports. In elementary school, it was baseball, basketball, and bowling. And then into junior high, it was baseball, football, wrestling, and bowling. And, of course, my husband was an avid fisherman, and DJ fished since he's 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
Into high school, DJ would help the gym teacher. We had a family that had adopted numerous handicapped children. And in high school, DJ would help the gym teacher with these children to teach them how to stay afloat in water. Yeah. So he was an avid swimmer. We had a big pool in our backyard, and of course that drew all the neighborhood kids. But he liked to swim. He loved to fish. He fished year round. It wasn't just a seasonal fishing.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then I guess into senior high, when classes started getting tougher, then he stopped bowling, but he stayed with the baseball, football, and wrestling.
Okay. All right. And he graduated from high school?
Yes.
He did. What high school was that?
He graduated from the state of Maryland.
Oh, he graduated in Maryland?
Yes.
He did. What was he doing down in Maryland?
When my husband worked for a company that transferred him to Maryland. Okay. So we were down in Columbia and then Annapolis. So DJ graduated down there.
Oh,
but he took a GED test because the change from a little school like Shippensburg to a school down there were more kids in his grade than all of Shippensburg. And but so he took his GED, but he passed high enough to get a state diploma rather than a GED.
Okay, great. How did he like it in Maryland?
How did he like it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, kids, if they move, so you have friends maybe in Pennsylvania, you have to go down to their Maryland, make new friends. How did he handle all that?
He handled it okay, but home to him was always Shippensburg.
Yeah.
So even now, a lot of his friends contact me online. Is there anything I can do, and things like that, and how they miss him and everything. Because he would go back now and then. So.
Okay. And once again, I realized this is many years ago. How much time did he spend there in Maryland? Was it a year, multiple years, or
2 years we were down there.
Okay.
And then my husband retired, and from there we went to Delaware.
Oh, okay. So we got more states in here maybe than I realized. Okay. All right.
Just those three.
Okay, just those three. And eventually, of course, we know this disappearance seemingly took place in Girardville. When was it that DJ finally made his way back to Pennsylvania?
Since 13 years ago.
Okay.
14 years ago.
Okay. Okay, very good. So he's traveling that eastern Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware area, Annapolis, of course, where the military academy is. Of course, getting kind of near Chesapeake Bay and all of that area as well. I know that area, but not spent a lot of time there. Okay.
Yeah.
Did he like coming back to Pennsylvania after all those years?
Yes.
He did.
Yes, and he bought the home that he bought because it was in a little town, and he wanted to be back into a little town. Berks County, we have our big cities around here, and he didn't like the trouble and stuff that it caused for him, so he moved back to Trillingsburg, the little town.
What about, of course, we have to realize when he went missing, 43 years old, correct?
Yes.
43. All right, well, and we'll get into that. What about work? What was he doing for work? Like you said, he got his GED. What kind of jobs and things did he have over the years, just to give the audience a little idea on that?
He was, at the time he disappeared, he was taking care of me at home. The government was paying him because I'm disabled.
Oh. He
had to prepare my meals and help me get to the bathroom, and so he was being paid by the government. I guess it would be through Medicare, Medicaid, to care for me. And then he was going to college in his off time, and he was on the president's list at college.
Wow! So, and what school was that?
University of Colorado.
Was he doing like something online or?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically political science.
Okay. Before taking care of you, what was he doing for work? What kind of jobs did he have? Maybe, and I'm sorry to hear that you needed help like that. Whatever happened, none of my business. But what kind of work and things was he doing before that?
He was on the back of a trash truck, and he got injured. He had done that for many years. He loved it because it kept him physical, jumping on and off the truck and stuff like that.
Sure.
But then he got injured, and he had a workers' comp settlement, and that's how he bought the house.
Wow. What kind of injury was it? Back injury or something? That sounds like you might be a back injury or something.
No, he jumped off the truck, and when he did, his right leg went into a pothole and broke his foot.
Oh, my goodness. What? Do you remember what year that was?
2 years before he bought the house, so
okay.
The year itself, I don't remember.
Okay. That's fine. All right, so we're talking in more recent history, maybe within the last 10 years?
Oh, yeah, 4 years ago.
4 years, 5 years ago. Okay, thank you. I know some of these, asking some of these date questions can be a little difficult. All right, so doing work, gets hurt, but he decides he's going to take care of his mother. That was very nice of him. I'm sure you like that, seeing him all the time, him taking care of you. That had to be nice for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What about any?
That's the way he was.
Please.
That's the way he was raised, because I took care of my mother in her older years, and so that's the way.
Yeah.
Kids today aren't raised that way, but he had been raised that way. So.
Okay. What about relationships? And we don't have to get into any names or anything like that. But relationships, did he have any children? Once again, I'm not looking for names, but just maybe a little better idea of his social life. What kind of social life did he have over the years?
Has a 13-year-old son who, is just traumatized by all this.
Yeah.
He's a good kid, but emotionally it's hitting him hard.
Right.
Okay. He dated a lot, but the mother of his child and him were, needless to say, very close. And then they parted ways, but she knew that he was there for Dustin, and that was fine.
Would you say that the DJ and the mother of this child continued to get along okay even after they broke up? That DJ would have access to his child to see him hang out? Was that all okay?
Yes.
Was that all working well?
That was even through DJ being missing.
Yeah.
The girl's been amazing with me. Contacts me and do you need anything? You okay? And my grandson talks to me on the phone, and so
all right,
everything's good.
All right, so you get to see or talk to your grandson when you want, and so you have a good relationship with her. Fantastic. What about, I should ask, what about the rest of your children? Of course, we went through how many there are. Do they all still live in the, let's just say Berks County, Girardville area, or did some of them maybe go to Maryland, Delaware? Are they all still in the area?
They're all but the adopted one is in this area. The adopted one moved back to California, but he comes home every 3 to 4 years. Mm-hmm. But we stay in touch. With the cell phones today, you don't pay long distance.
That's right. That's nice. Yeah. I'm old enough to remember, Julie. Tell me about it. I know. Yeah. Yeah. And so the rest of your kids kind of in the area or not?
Yes, they are. They're all right in this area.
Okay. And I should ask, and of course the listeners know that I talk to guests for Unfound, one time or multiple times before we do official interviews. I realized that your husband, DJ's father, did not pop up on our previous conversation, although he has popped up here. Am I to understand maybe he's not with us anymore? Did he pass away or?
He died 13 years ago.
He did. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm guessing all your children took it pretty badly. Pretty tough.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, I do have to ask about something, and I don't want to touch upon this for too long, but, this is just something I have to do in my capacity. Over the years, did DJ have any, problems with the law? Did he have any problems with any addictions, mental health issues? This is just pretty much a standard question, but...
Yes.
Once again, just to touch upon a little bit, can you talk about some of that?
Yes. He did have a drug problem, mostly alcohol, and he was incarcerated, but in the last 5 years, he turned his life completely around. Yeah. And he was doing great. He was clean, he was sober.
Mm-hmm. Because as you would probably suspect, we have a lot of parents in the audience, and maybe they worry about their kids getting into maybe the same problems, and hopefully if they do, they work themselves out of them, like it seems DJ did. Can you put a finger on why that happened as his mother? And, do you remember the first time that you said, I think DJ is making a bad choice here? Any insight into that all these years later?
Yeah, I think that he was with the wrong people. Mm-hmm. And, no matter how much a parent is there, they still make their own choices, and you can't be with them 24 hours.
No, you can't. Right.
But, my husband and I stood by him, and kept offering him all the help we could give him, counselors and stuff like that. So it took a while, but more than anything, I think it was the birth of his son that turned him around. Because she made it quite clear that he could only see his son if he was clean and sober. So.
Mm-hmm. And that straightened him up. And like you said, and of course you were living with him. You two were living together for like you said, he was taking care of you. And of course,
yes.
If he was having any issues, he maybe would not be able to do that. But you're saying he was an excellent caregiver for you. You're seeing him every day, and he had really straightened his life out.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Okay. All right, so we've gotten a pretty good idea, I think, about DJ, what is going on with his life. I think we've talked about both the positive and a little bit of the negative, making sure we're portraying him in a truthful way. So let's move on to some items that I think we need to discuss and that people need to understand now regarding, the disappearance and maybe some things that could have led up to, what happened. Let's start here. Let's start talking about the purchase of this house. Once again, remember, we're going to look at this in factual terms. We're not going to try to point the finger at anybody, but just the process of you and he eventually living in this house. And then we'll get into who else ended up living with you. But the purchase of this house, how did it happen?
When he got his workers' comp settlement, at that point, I moved back here after my husband died, and we were in a larger area, and he wanted to be back in the small town. So he found this house online, and he went and bought it, and it was like a quick sale, but the man that he bought it from didn't have the deed because he owed money on it, and that's why he was selling it. But it's my understanding that when that happens, the notary is to give you a temporary deed, and that never happened. Therefore, DJ couldn't get a deed in his name, and although he went back to the seller numerous times, the seller refused to give it to him. So,
approximately what year was this that this all started, the process? Like you said, he saw this house online and said, and we should note he bought the house with cash, correct?
He bought it, he had a cashier's check, which we showed proof of, not only copies of the check, but copies of his bank account showing that the money was there and withdrawn. But it's a hard process to prove,
right. Okay. What year did this happen? Just to make sure we understand the timeline of this. What year was this that this all went down?
It was 21, 22.
Somewhere in there. So after COVID.
Yeah.
So a little bit after COVID, it occurred in 2020.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Given, this, whatever, and once again, I think everybody in the audience knows, I've never owned a house, so I'm not familiar with, the exact process, filling out paperwork and everything. I've rented my whole life. But you move into this house, you're living there, even though there seemed to be some problems with the paperwork.
Yes.
Okay.
And we went to the local police, which Girardville no longer has local police. We've been to the borough council. We sat in the courthouse for 3 days until someone from the detective's office out of the district attorney's office finally saw us. And we explained it to them, and then they were investigating it. But it was a tough fight. The man that sold DJ the house had numerous lawsuits. Either he was suing someone or someone was suing him.
That's what you were told. That's what you were told,
yes.
That you were dealing with this guy and we're trying to avoid using his name. But yes. He's selling this house online. You you want to purchase it. DJ, of course, is heading up this effort, and you're just I don't know if you hadn't signed any paperwork or not, but he's the one. Your son DJ is the one who's really pushing forward for this. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're just along for the ride, but you understand you're going to get this house. You and he are going to live there. He's going to take care of you. And then somewhere within all of this paperwork problem started, and it got to the point where the courts had to get involved.
Yes.
Okay.
They were shutting the water off. They were shutting the electric off. They were busting in the door. All that happened after DJ went missing.
All right.
While he was
before,
still here,
we'll get into what happened after, but before, it was really you living in the house, but not having this deed, and the seller kind of avoiding the topic.
Right, and the seller also sold the house again while we were still living there, still fighting for it.
Wow. Okay. Okay, and as best as you can tell, what was the seller's reason that he wasn't willing to give over the deed? Did he ever give an actual reason that he couldn't do that, or was it just avoid? Once again, understanding you were not totally responsible for this, but what was DJ telling you?
I was with him through most of it, but the man just kept telling him, no, I'm not giving you the deed, I'm not giving it to you. You should have gotten it the day we made settlement and all that. But and then after a while, he just stopped seeing DJ or answering his door while DJ was there. But
okay.
His family members lived right down the street from us and would harass us constantly. Like, get out of our house and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It became pretty horrible.
Okay. And you said that this all started in 2021, 2022. And of course, the disappearance happened in 2024. So are you saying this went on for like 3 years?
Yes.
It did. And all this court stuff went on for that amount of time as well?
Yes. And the reason we didn't hire an attorney, which was what we wanted to do, but we called 5 attorneys and they all couldn't take on the case because they had either cases against or for the previous homeowner, the man who bought the home from.
Wow. All right, so and it would be maybe a conflict of interest or something.
Yes.
Okay, so you're living, but the should be known. So this starts, you move in, and then you have this paperwork issue. It's back and forth. I guess DJ trying to maneuver through the court system on his own, not being able to hire a lawyer. But this is the house where you and he were living, and I realize other people were living there. We'll get into that in a moment. But this is where you and he were living when he went missing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And in addition to that, there was going to be another, I don't know if we wanted to call it a court date or a meeting with a judge or something that was upcoming like the next week, but DJ went missing first.
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. All right, so we're going to come back to that, as probably the audience can tell. Let's move on to this. Who is Teresa?
Teresa was a girl living next door. She had a fight or an argument with those people, and DJ told her she could come stay with us until she could get to her mother's, because her mother lived out of the area. But that because she worked in the area where we were, her stay ended up being months.
Huh.
So then she was a girlfriend till the end, but not someone I could see his future with.
Okay. So Sheila kind of lived next door, was having problems there, and DJ just kind of invited her over.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Nice of him. I just have to ask you this. How did you feel about that?
I wasn't happy, but growing up, our thing with DJ was always my house, my rules. And
Yeah.
he turned that around on me. So
Yes. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So she's moves in. I mean, when you say she moved her clothes in. Took over one of the bathrooms, etc., etc., etc. She lived there.
yes,
Okay. How many months was she living there before DJ went missing?
I would say 7 months.
7 months.
Yes.
All right, so a little, maybe half year, not somewhere between, half a year and a full year. Okay, thank you. And
Yeah.
all right, very good. And how would you say, once again, being that you're there, how would you say that Teresa and DJ got along? Your opinion?
They argued frequently.
Did they?
Yes.
Can you see of any reason why that was? That DJ maybe just didn't say, you know what, Teresa, I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
Well, he did.
He did.
He finally did.
Okay.
Yeah, right before he went missing. About a week or week and a half before he went missing.
Okay.
He told her she had 2 weeks to get out.
Okay, did Teresa have a job? Of course, like we said, DJ's taking care of you. Did she have a job? Did she work anywhere? What was she doing for money?
She was a home health aide, not taking care of me, but that was what she was doing.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about this guy. We'll just use his first name for now. His name is Jimmy. How did Jimmy come into DJ and your, I guess, Teresa's life? When did that happen? Why did it happen?
Well, DJ would go up to the corner bar and drink soda, but he would shoot pool. And because we didn't have a pool table in the house anymore. And Jimmy was in there and asked DJ to take him home to Frackville. And DJ said, no, people have been drinking, I'm not driving. He said, but what I will do, you can spend the night on my sofa, and then tomorrow somebody will run you to Frackville. And so that's what happened. But in the process of that, because Jimmy didn't go home that night, his girlfriend kicked him out.
Huh.
So,
Oh, my goodness.
So we're stuck with Jimmy on the sofa now. So
Yeah. Okay, so...
And that was a very short time, maybe, 2-3 weeks at the most.
It was like 2 or 3 weeks before DJ went missing?
Yes.
All right, so just to put this in the timeline. So it's the two of you. You're having problems already with the paperwork and everything for this house. Once again, I'm not an expert in the area, in that area, of real estate and everything. But then... in seemingly maybe 2023 sometime, DJ invites Teresa to move in with all of you. And then then we already have the three of you living together. And it, like you said, maybe Teresa and DJ were not getting along, if that's the way it is, the way it was. And then all of a sudden, you have Jimmy living there too.
Right.
Okay. What can you tell the listeners what you personally experienced regarding Jimmy? What can you say about Jimmy? Once again, just your personal experience having him under the same roof.
You could tell Jimmy was a drug user, and that bothered me because I had to make sure that my son stayed clean.
Right.
And I kept telling DJ that he needed to go, and DJ did give him notice that he had to get out too. So both of them were getting out, but in the meantime, DJ disappeared. I think Jimmy was rough, and he was at a place in Girardville, and how he came to that area is beyond me, because he wasn't from there.
And that's what I was going to ask you. That's very astute for you to say that, because I was just going to ask you, where was Jimmy from? How was it that, of course, it sounds to me like you and DJ had lived in that area for quite a while, even though I know over his life he'd been in Delaware and Maryland, but you'd been there for a while, you'd been living in this house for a few years, and all of a sudden DJ just runs into this Jimmy guy at a bar.
Yes.
Did you ever, in speaking to Jimmy, even with the problems that he had, Did he ever say how he came to be in that area or where he grew up or anything like that? Was he from Philadelphia? Was he from New Jersey? Was he from somewhere else? Did he even say?
He had mentioned that he was originally from New Jersey, but then we found out through checking on Jimmy that he had been to Florida and Texas and Allentown, and so he had been quite, I think because of his legal problems,
Okay.
he had moved place to place.
Okay. And how did, once again, your observations, how did Jimmy and Teresa get along? How did Teresa feel about Jimmy coming in there?
She seemed pretty happy about it. Like I said, her and DJ weren't getting along very well, and so her and Jimmy tended to get along well.
All right, but as best as you can tell, though, Jimmy and Teresa were hopefully on their way out. Whether Teresa was moving next door back with their family or somewhere else, or Jimmy maybe, I don't know, out onto the streets, or I don't know where he would have been going, but you believe that they were going to be out there in short order.
Yes.
Okay. Now, once again, being that you brought up Jimmy and, you thinking that he might have been doing drugs, are you sure that DJ, withstood all that stuff, and, didn't, let's just say, lapse back into some sort of addictive behavior? Pretty sure about that.
I'm pretty sure about that.
Okay.
That he didn't.
Okay. What about Teresa? Any suspicions along those lines for her?
No.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to this location. I think the listeners need a little bit of an explanation there. But so the four of you are now living under this same roof here in May of 2024.
Yes.
And I have not. Although I know the address, I don't know. That had to be some pretty tight quarters, all four of you living there, right?
Yes.
Because I'm guessing this was not a 4-bedroom house, right?
3-bedroom.
3-bedroom. Okay, well, I guess 3, maybe Jimmy had to sleep on the couch or something.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Well, part of that was because I was basically confined to the upstairs, because that's where the bathroom was. And if DJ wasn't there, I didn't want Jimmy close enough to me.
Sure.
He was a strange man to me.
Yep.
So
maybe I should ask you that. I guess I should ask you that. Did you and Jimmy ever have any issues?
We didn't get along. We didn't communicate. We didn't get along. He knew that I knew that he was into the drug situation, and he wasn't financially helping. And DJ and I are paying all the bills, and everybody's living for free. And it
right.
So
all right,
Jimmy and I didn't get along.
All right, so that was kind of a little bit of a tense situation.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to talk about, and this is really what the place is called. I'm not trying to be funny or anything. This is a PG-rated podcast. It always has been, always will be. But this place that we're going to talk about is called the A-Hole, right?
Yes.
Explain the A-Hole to the listeners, for anybody that's not heard of it. It's a gravel pit, but the locals called it the A-Hole. What is it? How popular is it? Do a lot of people go there to fish or swim or whatever? What can you tell the listeners?
It's the A-hole because behind it is the B-hole. So
yes.
I don't know who gave it that name, but people go up there. They go picnicking. The young kids go up there a lot at night to drink, and but people go up there and go fishing and picnicking and camping, and it's privately owned, but I can't track down who owns it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so
But,
you would say this is a popular hangout place, but I think what you're
oh yeah,
also saying here is it's. Would you say once again? Have you? Maybe I should ask you this: have you ever been there?
no.
Okay.
They tell me I can't because of my disability.
Mm-hmm.
It's you got to climb up a hill to
Okay.
get to it, and I can't get up that hill.
Okay.
So I've
Right.
never been up.
Right. Okay. But then is your understanding that so if anybody's going there, and I don't want to put too fine of a point on this, but if it's private land, people are going there, maybe trespassing. I don't want to get this to get out of hand. But, would it be trespassing if people were going there and doing these things?
Yes.
Okay. But it doesn't...
But the police never charged anybody with trespassing.
And
they just let it go.
And it doesn't seem like whoever owns this area wasn't complaining.
No.
Nobody ever cited, nobody ever charged or anything. There's nothing in the newspapers or websites saying that the owner of the a-hole is kicking everybody out or anything like that.
No. And before DJ went missing, several people had drowned up there. So,
Wow.
I'm sure the owners knew what was going on. And, it was just let go.
Okay, and maybe we'll come back to the prior incidents at the a-hole before DJ went missing seemingly at the a-hole. So this is an area, how often, as best as you can tell, how often would you say that DJ went to the a-hole to fish, to swim, just to hang out? Any idea on that?
I would say probably every 2 weeks he went up to the a-hole. He fished almost every day, but he would go to different spots to go fishing. The reason he went up to the a-hole was because he could take the kayak up there, and any other place he went was basically a little stream or a little creek, so he couldn't take his kayak.
Okay, so this a-hole, it's like prior years, of course, there was a time in Pennsylvania where there was a lot of digging for coal and all sorts of other minerals that were going on all across Pennsylvania, including, near where I grew up in Leechburg. But this was some gravel pit that eventually became full of water.
Yes.
Eventually. And so it's like it's a gravel pit, but it looks like a lake.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I've seen aerial photos of it, fairly large.
Yes.
Fairly large. I don't know if you'd want to try to swim across it or anything, but it's not like one of the Great Lakes or anything either. It's a lake that people go, as we've explained, and there are fish in there, I guess, that people could catch. It must get stocked or something. Okay. All right. And certainly we'll talk about that a little bit more later. I do want to reiterate one thing. Once again, your understanding is that there was another meeting regarding all of this house paperwork coming up shortly in the next few days.
Yes.
Okay, so if the disappearance date was May 28th of 2024, if that's the accepted date, would you say that there was like some sort of another meeting like May 30th, June 1st, June 2nd, somewhere in there?
Right in there, yeah. He disappeared on Monday the 28th,
Okay.
and I think that was Memorial Day, so
Yeah.
we would go into the courthouse on the 30th, I believe, take
Wow.
the papers in, and they wanted the papers in chronological order, and that's what DJ had been doing the night on Sunday night. He was putting all the papers in chronological order, and he kept records of everything. He kept a journal of who we saw, who we talked to, what happened, and that's what the district attorney's office wanted, was that paperwork in chronological order.
All right, we're going to talk about what happened at the house and all that paperwork after the disappearance. We're eventually going to talk about that because it should be known you don't live in that house anymore, correct? You don't.
Correct.
All right, and we'll come back to why that is. Just some additional questions about about DJ and the pit. We've already talked about how often he went there. And of course, Jimmy was only there for a few weeks before this happened. Did DJ and Teresa ever go up to the pit together?
I think maybe once or twice she went up, but she didn't usually go fishing with him because to her it was boring.
Okay. Okay. So I guess some people could be men too. All right. But so when he would go up there, once again, as best as you can tell, would DJ go up there by himself? Would he go up there with other people? What would you say was common for DJ when he would go to the pit?
Usually when he went up to the pit, it was by himself.
Okay. And being that we're going to get into the circumstances here in a moment, how common was it if he was going, whether with other people or by himself, how common was it for him to be up at 3 a.m. to do this?
It wasn't out of the ordinary, but it wasn't routine.
Okay.
He would do it maybe once or twice a week, and what had happened is it had been drizzling Sunday night into Monday morning, and Jimmy wanted to go fishing at the A-hole and kept bugging DJ, and so DJ finally agreed to go because he said after light rain like that, fishing is better. So the theory is.
Yes, right. A lot of fishing theory. Being that I have fished quite a bit in my life, although not recently. In my life, yeah, all sorts of theories regarding weather and rain and water temperature for fishermen. That's true. So they were. I guess what we're saying is it drizzled, and so maybe the hope was to get there right after it was done raining to get the best fishing circumstance. Okay, but as far as going out at 3 a.m., not the common thing, but not overtly rare either. Somewhere in between.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
What about this kayak? How experienced was DJ on this kayak? Because everybody's going to eventually find out that this kayak was found out in the middle of the A pit. The A-hole. How experienced was he?
He used the kayak for a couple of years. He did down when we lived in Delaware. He used it down there, and that was in the ocean, and he did fine with it. And the A-hole is still water.
Yep. No waves, no currents, nothing like that. It's just water sitting there. Nowhere to drain out. Okay, it's basically just rainwater that collects there, and then it evaporates and it rains some more. That's how it keeps getting, filled up and then depleted and filled up again. All right. So you would, if you were to say DJ's going out even on a body of water that has a current and waves and everything, you would think that DJ would be in pretty good shape. You'd have a lot of confidence in that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Not only because, the water, but because he was a good swimmer.
Okay. Sure.
So.
Okay. Very good. All right. Let's go up to this morning. We've already talked about it. It happened at 3 a.m. My understanding is that DJ actually woke you up, to say that they were going. Do you remember maybe the evening before knowing that they'd be going out, or was that a surprise when he woke you up at 3 a.m.?
I was surprised because I knew he had an exam on Monday, and I was surprised he was going without, studying for his exam or sleeping before the exam. But Jimmy wanted to go. Jimmy kept saying, let's go. So DJ agreed to go fishing with him.
And we need to make the point, Teresa went too.
Yes.
All right.
She did not stay, though.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, she came right back to the house. DJ tried to make sure that I was never left alone. So.
Okay. So let's go through this. So you're in bed. DJ comes up, maybe wakes you up and said, "Hey, Jimmy and I are going, and actually Teresa is going to drive us." Just describe that conversation for everybody.
He came in the room, and I thought it was time for my medicine or something, but he woke me up with Ma. And he told me that he was putting the house papers under my dresser. Every time he would move those papers because he thought someone was coming into the house, and I did too, and he didn't want the papers found.
Okay.
So he said, Mom, I'm putting these papers under your dresser. He said, Jimmy and I are going fishing. I said, okay. He said, but I'll be back by noon to make you lunch. And I said, okay. And he kissed my forehead. He said, I love you, Ma. I said, I love you. But that was his normal, kissing me and telling me he loved me. We were raised that way, you know. So that was his normal. And then he left and went fishing, and Teresa came back. But it was like 3:30 in the morning. So exactly when she came back, I'm not sure.
Okay. How far of a drive is it from your place to the A-hole?
Maybe 5 miles.
Not far. Pretty close.
No.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay. But
if it wouldn't have been for the kayak, DJ would have walked.
Okay.
But carrying the kayak that distance is too much.
All right. So conceivably, what the plan was, the three of them go out there, and it does seem that Teresa came back after dropping them off. Then at some point, maybe DJ would call her, and she would go back out there to pick them up. That's maybe. She
was told to be there before noon because she wanted to come back to make me lunch.
Okay. All right. So essentially, then, really, it seems it was just Jimmy and DJ out there.
Yes.
Okay. Describe later then what happens when you first find out that something seemingly went wrong at the A-hole. Describe what happened later that morning, in that noon time.
Well, I got a phone call from DJ's friend saying, are you home? Are you okay? And I said, yeah, we'll stay there. We're coming. And his friends got to the house and said that all the emergency vehicles and stuff, because someone in a red kayak had capsized up at the A-hole. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. How would he capsize in a kayak with still waters?
Yeah.
And,
okay.
None of it made any sense. And they said, well, they're saying that he drowned. I said, if it did capsize, he couldn't have drowned. He's too good of a swimmer. And they said the same thing.
Okay. How does the rest of that day progress? What does... excuse me. So when you get this call, was Teresa home? Or was she already out there? Do you remember where Teresa was when you got this call?
Teresa had gone up to get them.
She had?
Yes.
Okay.
And normally, because the incline of getting up to the A-hole, you could blow the horn or call them, not call, but text them.
Mm-hmm.
To call, they don't have enough reception up there. But you could text them. And normally that's what she would do, and then they would gather the stuff and come down.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand why she went up. But she went up because nobody was responding to her.
All right. And the way you went, once again, I understand that you weren't there. When Teresa did go back, were, searchers, the police already there? Or did she get back there and it was still just DJ, or of course DJ's missing, but just Jimmy's there? What is your understanding?
DJ was in the kayak, according to them. Now, their story has changed several times, so we're not exactly sure.
Okay.
Jimmy had never gone in the water. He never went fishing. He never even took a fishing rod with him, which kind of upset us all. But he was sleeping with his head on a rock. But Teresa said that she had to wake him up out of the tent. Jimmy said he never pitched the tent. First they said that...
Well, let's not get... I don't want to get into different stories. I don't want to try to confuse people, but let's put it this way. Teresa goes back to pick them up. She goes up there, and you're saying that Jimmy is on shore and the kayak is out in the middle of the water.
Yes.
Okay.
However, DJ's bait and tackle is on the beach, along with his hat, and DJ did nothing without a hat.
Okay. All right, and is that, at that point, is that when the alarms went off and somebody finally called 911 or what? Or was, I've read there was some sort of delay. She goes out there noon, but they didn't do anything until 2 o'clock. How do you remember it?
2:16, they called for assistance. And everybody asked them why, and they said, well, they were looking for him. But later on, that story will change.
Okay, we'll get into how that changed. But that was the original story, seemingly. Teresa goes back, like you stated. You know, DJ wanted to be back to come back to fix you lunch. She goes back out there. She goes, parks the car. She goes up, and we should mention it's Teresa's car. She walks up this incline. Jimmy's on shore. The kayak's out in the middle of the water, and DJ is nowhere to be found. And then they say, well, let's take a look for him. Maybe one of them even, went out into the water or something. That's just an example. I don't know that one way or the other. But eventually, after a couple hours, they give up. They finally call 911, and that's when the searches start.
Yes.
That's, once again, the original story. Okay? I want to,
correct.
Just a very general story. And I do want to come back to some of these points you made about the kayak, the bait, and everything else. All right.
Okay.
So what happens then? All right, so somebody eventually calls 911. Police show up, searchers show up, maybe fire department shows up, maybe they have a boat, maybe they're scuba divers. And I guess you just had to witness all of this from afar because you could not get up there. People just had to tell you what was going on. What is your understanding of what they did maybe that day and the days after to try to find DJ?
Well, because it was reported as a drowning, they focused completely on the water. And they had water cadaver dogs up there. They had, I think the Army or Navy scuba men were there. For 3 weeks, they searched that water. His body never surfaced, and he was never found.
Okay, but the kayak was out in the water. That's what Teresa says where it was when she showed back up. Okay.
Yes.
Would you say, I'm guessing, when I realize you weren't there firsthand, but as best as you can tell, your impression, would you say that Teresa and Jimmy, at least at the time, were forthcoming? Did the police have any problems questioning them? We'll get into how these stories change, but at the time, would you say they were evasive or anything like that?
Well, they did speak to the police, and Teresa was polygraphed. Jimmy was not, but they were not forthcoming with me. How they were with the police and how they answered, I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. Eventually, I'm guessing Jimmy and Teresa come back, to the house. And what kind of conversations did you have with them? Describe those conversations. What did you discuss? And would you say this is where maybe the story started changing, or was it later? But your first impression upon talking to them about what happened?
Well, when they came back, Teresa didn't come back to my house. She went next door, which we couldn't understand because she never went over there any other time. Okay. However, she did that day, and Jimmy got mad that she went next door and threw his hat on the floor and made a big scene. And DJ's friend Brian, the one that called me, was there with me. Him and Robert stayed with me till we could get some answers on this. Yeah. And when they asked Teresa, that's when she said that she had to wake Jimmy up out of the tent, and that's what took him so long to call 911. And then when Brian talked to Jimmy, he said, well, I was sleeping with my head on a rock. And Brian said, about the tent, and he said, I never put the tent up. And Brian's like, you know, you guys, your stories aren't matching here. And Brian found several other things that they had said. They, you know, weren't exactly what they said earlier. So, and I think it's important to let you know that for some reason, Jimmy took a BB gun with him. And DJ never took a gun fishing, never, you know. And, but he said that that's how he saw DJ, was looking through the scope when the BB gun. That's how he could see DJ in the kayak.
Are you sure that it was a BB gun and not a real gun that fires bullets?
To the best of my knowledge, it was a BB gun, but the police never confiscated it. I don't know one gun from another.
All right, so is it just Jimmy saying that it was a BB gun?
Yes.
If you don't know guns, so you wouldn't know to look at a gun to tell if it was a BB gun or a real gun. So you're just going by Jimmy's word.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So maybe we'll come back to that as well. So they come back, and there seems to be a discrepancy between whether this tent that they took, was it put up or not. Teresa, I guess, said she found him sleeping on a rock, so I guess the tent wasn't up, but then Jimmy said the tent was up.
No, the other way.
The opposite way around. Teresa said the tent was up. Jimmy said the tent never got put up.
Yes.
All right. Okay. And then once again, it seemingly there was a couple hours there after Teresa showed up that, you know, then one of them was the one that called 911, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I do want to explore this topic right now, just so everybody understands the environment, you know, this a-hole. You did say that people have drowned in that pit before. In fact, I know one of the drowning was not long before, maybe the summer before DJ went missing, correct?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Is it your opinion, as best as you can tell, that when people when they drown in the pit, that they are usually found?
Yes, everyone has been found.
All right, so there's once again, to your knowledge, nobody that, you know, is believed to have drowned in the pit that hasn't been found.
Correct.
All right, I think that's very important for everybody to understand. Do we even know how deep this pit is? Ever
No.
been told?
No, they said it's deeper than 300 feet.
All right, so pretty deep. Okay. All right, let's move on now. So this is, of course, they search. Nothing is found. We're going to get into the specifics, some more of the specifics of the kayak. Of course, the rods and reels that were on the kayak. We'll come back to the bait. We'll kind of set that scene up and see what the listeners can make of it. But I want to talk about this first. What about you in that house? Now you're in that house by yourself. Teresa seemingly has moved out.
Yes.
Does Jimmy move out? What happens there?
Jimmy moved out that day. DJ's friend Brian, uneasy with Jimmy being in the house, especially without my son. So Brian told him he had to go. And Jimmy made a big fuss about it, but Brian said, get out, you know. So
Right.
he did go. And again, Teresa had been told by DJ and then by Brian and I that she had to be out within the next couple days. So
Right.
she got out too.
So DJ goes missing, and all of a sudden you're back to living in the house by yourself.
Yes.
Okay. So how long do you end up being in that house before, well, let's just say people made it known that they didn't want you in there anymore? How long did that take?
The next morning.
That's how quickly it happened. D
Yes,
goes missing. The very next day, what happens?
The water gets shut off.
Wow. And did this and this was seemingly done by the person who had the deed issue?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever have an opportunity to talk to that person, or maybe one of DJ's friends, like Brian or somebody, try to talk to that guy to reason with him, or what was going on? What explanation did you get?
Well, there's no reasoning with them. They wouldn't talk to us, and at 5 o'clock that day, they came and busted in the door. Five big men came and busted in the door and told me I was a squatter and I needed to get out. So I'm not going anywhere. So,
So I just need to make sure we understand this. So when you say busted in, are you saying that the front door was locked and they came in anyway, like barging in, breaking the door, or something like that?
They busted the door in. We had to have it repaired.
Wow. And did they take anything? Did they destroy anything? What did they do?
They put new locks on the door, but they only got it on the outside. Not on the inside. Brian got there fast enough to stop them from doing that.
Okay. So I have to ask, did they attempt to take you out of the house? Did they attempt to drag you out, or what?
Well, they were coming at me, but the police showed up in the meantime. The neighbors called the police because they knew what we were going through, and they called the police, and
Wow.
The police got there in time.
How long did you end up living in that house before you left? Or maybe you were kicked out? How long?
Maybe 3 months at the most. Wow. And I didn't want to leave because my feeling was DJ had just gotten hurt. He would eventually find his way back. And I had to be there for him. But the guy that sold DJ the home, they kept making things worse for me. They shut the water off 3 or 4 times. They had the electric meter removed and just all kinds of things. They were horrible. Walking down the street, screaming at me. And so my brother and my cousin finally said, you can't be up here alone. I have no family or anything up there. And DJ's friends were all taking turns staying at the house with me. That wasn't fair to them. They had their own homes and their own families.
That's right.
So Brian, my brother, said, that's it. We're sending trucks up to come get you. So then they moved me back to Berks County.
Did you ever have a one-on-one conversation with the guy who was in this disagreement over the deed? Did he ever call you? Did you ever call him? Did he ever come to the house? Did you ever have just a one-on-one, somewhat civil discussion with him, ever?
Never.
Any of these times, like you said, these guys coming into the house, or maybe any time after that, was he ever part of that group, ever?
No. It was, at that point, we were dealing with the new buyer, the people that bought the house after DJ bought the house, and that happened to be the original seller's sister and brother-in-law.
So you're living there. DJ thinks he's bought the house. There's all these paperwork issues. And then all of a sudden he goes missing, and suddenly the house is getting sold again.
Yes.
To the person who was the seller is another family member.
Yes.
All right. And so you eventually move out, which I think I know you didn't want to, but given all of this is probably the best thing to do for your mental and physical health, even though I realize you're against that. And are those people, we're doing this interview, by the way, for everybody on November 16th of 2025. Do you know, are those people currently living in that house? Is anybody living in that house? What's going on?
No, the home is all boarded up.
It's all boarded up now.
Yes.
Did anybody end up living in that house after you moved out?
No.
Wow, that is crazy. And you said the water had been shut off, but in fact that had been done multiple times over those next 3 months, and you said electric meters and all those things.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. All right. So we have this situation. We're not saying, we're just saying. We're saying that DJ goes missing, and then all of a sudden it seems that these house issues really, really got more complex, more than just a paperwork issue. It was now people coming onto the property, etc.
Yes.
Just a few more things about the house situation. Of course, you eventually, get out of there, which I know you didn't want to, but probably it was, for you, like I said, probably in your best interest. Regarding the paperwork, regarding the deed and all of this other stuff, so when DJ went missing, did all of that stuff kind of go away?
Yeah. Unfortunately. Now, I'm still in contact with the district attorney's office.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to be in a hurry at all about doing anything about it because DJ's not here, and it's me saying it, not his word, I guess.
Right, because his name was on the paperwork. Your name was not, right?
Correct.
All right, so once the presumed owner of the house goes missing, there's nobody else to deal with. And, there's no more complaint, I guess. Okay. Just so everybody understands that. And then the guy sells this to a family member, but like you said, here in November of 2025, nobody's even in that house. In fact, it's boarded up, like it's abandoned.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to this. Let's move back to the a-hole, and let's talk about this scene a little bit more. I've read that, so not only was the kayak, it's sitting out there, you're understanding that the kayak was floating as a kayak should out in the water. I know you weren't there, but that's your understanding.
Yes, the pictures I have, it's upright. It's
okay.
Floating.
But the rods and reels are also on the kayak.
Yes.
Right. So if we're to imagine a scenario, once again, we don't like to do much theorizing, but if we were to think that, let's say something happened. Of course, DJ in his 40s, let's just say he had a heart attack. Maybe he falls into the water, the kayak capsizes. You would think then that the rods and reels would go into the water as well.
I would think.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable assumption. But the rod and reels, not just one rod and reel, but multiple, were still on the kayak.
Yes.
Okay. Next thing we need to understand regarding the bait. Why don't you tell the listeners about that again?
Well, DJ's habit was when he got to the water, he would put a fishing rod in, and then he would load the kayak with what he was taking with him, water bottles, and his bait and tackle. But his bait and tackle was left on the beach, and they got up there 3:30, 4:45 in the morning. DJ was on that kayak. How, about 10 hours later, they're calling, and his bait and tackle's still on the beach. His hat's still on the beach. How's he fishing without bait and tackle? Makes no sense.
Right.
They also found his boots floating in the water, but he doesn't wear the boots to go fishing. He wears his sneakers, but he has the boots along to carry the stuff down off the hill where the a-hole is, because it gets slippery in his sneakers.
As best as you can tell by looking at the rod and reel and everything, does it look like DJ did any fishing at all that morning?
No, the rods are still tied together.
All right, so conceivably, seemingly, he goes out there in the water and automatically something happens. If we're to believe that. I'm not telling anybody what to believe, not to believe. But it doesn't seem that the rods and reels were in a situation where he was in the process of fishing and something happened.
Yeah. Well, he wouldn't, I guess.
Okay.
Without his bait and tackle, untying the rods, he couldn't have fished.
Yeah, you can't fish, for sure. Okay. Usually around water, it's a little muddy or something like that. Do we know if they were able to track any of DJ's footprints? Was there proof that there were at least 2 men on the scene that morning? Do we know anything about that?
No footprints. The police didn't look for anything like that. It was reported as a drowning, and that's the way the police searched it.
Okay. What about other witnesses? Of course, like you said, I think this was Memorial Day. Well, this was early Monday morning. Last Monday of May, which here in the United States is Memorial Day. It's a federal holiday. Nobody has to work. It does seem that this place was a popular place for fishing and swimming and everything. Anybody else at the pit that morning?
They tell me no.
All right. So nobody else. Seemingly, the police have not been able to track down anybody else who encountered Jimmy and DJ that morning.
Correct.
All right, so that is unhelpful. Okay, let's move on to this. Now, besides DJ being missing, what else of his is missing? I'll just ask you. His phone, though, has not been found.
Right.
Okay.
His phone, his wallet, I guess that's about it. And him with all of his clothes on.
Right, with all his clothes on, okay. Do you know if they did any pinging or any search of his phone records, any possibility he might have texted or called anybody maybe on the way to the pit that morning, or anybody was trying to contact him? Do we know anything about that information?
His phone was never pinged because it was reported as a drowning, and once the phone's in the water, you can't ping it. It won't respond.
Okay. But we don't know anything about the records, actual calls and texts. We don't know anything about either of those, at least at this point. Nope. Okay. I guess maybe the good news is, given that this disappearance is, a year and a half old, something like that, that if the police haven't gotten them, those records surely still have been gotten. It's still a possibility. And, it might be interesting, what if we were to find out that maybe on the way there that somebody had contacted DJ or something like that? That might get our attention. So his phone's missing, wallet's missing. I guess they were on him when he went missing, however he went missing. And, of course, like you said, clothes and shoes, things like that. But the hat, the bait, all on shore, and the rods and reels all tied up on the kayak. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Of course, Teresa is the one who drove there that morning. Of course, like you said, given that this is still considered to be a drowning, do you know if her car was ever searched? Did they look it over? Anything like that?
Never.
Okay. All
right. And the gun, whether it be a BB gun or a real gun, was never confiscated.
Okay. Let's move, of course, to this. Regarding that the additional hearing about the deed, I'm guessing that then didn't happen the next day or a couple days later.
About a week later, I took the paperwork down to the district attorney's office.
Okay.
They do have it, but like they said to me, there's really not much they can do without DJ, because he's the owner.
Okay. Now, much more recently, and this, as I said, we were going to talk about former guest Rachel for the disappearance of Jesse Farber. Coincidentally, very sadly, Jesse's remains were found here recently. Really not that far away from where all this happened, right?
Correct.
It's not. It's all that kind of area of Pennsylvania. Jesse's remains found
Yes.
by accident, I think by some hunters or maybe ATV riders. And like I said, we were hoping, of course, that Jesse was still alive. He's deceased. Very sad. But Rachel has has been helping you with all of this. And one of the times that she was out there, she came across a pair of pants. Tell the listeners about all of that.
Well, should a search team go up there because she knows my disability, I can't get up. And she, after hearing everything from me, she agreed that drowning just doesn't sound right. Mm-hmm. So her and her search team went up there and they found a pair of pants. Now, I kept saying DJ had on sweatpants, but the sweatpants are like nylon. Mm-hmm. They're not typical sweatpants. Yes. And she found them. They were gray with black stripe, and she notified me. I called the police to go get them, but when the police showed up, they just took the pants. They, didn't put them in a bag, nothing. Just took the pants and went on their merry way. However, that was back in April, and we've still gotten no results.
I'm not sure. Do you think that they are DJ's pants or not?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
You, of course, saw him that morning. Are you inclined to believe those could be the pants that he was wearing that morning?
Yes.
You understand the waist size and the length. I'm sure Rachel has told you. Maybe I'll put it this way. Have you seen these pants firsthand? Have you actually had those pants in your hands to look at them yourself?
No.
You haven't. Okay. And any particular reason that didn't happen?
Because the police took them.
Oh, the police took them. Okay. But your understanding of the size and waist size and length of them, would you say that those pants would be the size that DJ would wear?
Well, I can't tell by the length because they've been drugged through. Okay. They're in pieces. The legs aren't there, but it's a small waist, and DJ wore small medium. Is what he always wore. And I bought the pants, so I remember them. Uh-huh. But yeah, everybody said that those are the pants that he always wore different because they didn't overheat him but kept his legs covered from bugs.
Okay. So. Because you have to understand, as you would probably even guess, Julie, usually when we go out in searches and pieces of clothing or shoes or whatever are found, there's usually a lot of more hope attached to it than actual, facts to believe when we look at clothes. And so, that's what I'm trying to determine here. Is this just some random, pair of pants? If people do go swimming in the area or whatever, who knows what goes on there, drinking and everything else. Who knows why clothes might be left there or anywhere else. And that's all I'm trying to determine is this something factual or is this just maybe, hope overruling our judgment here? But you're saying that as best as you can tell, the length or the size of the pants would be the size the DJ would wear.
Yes.
And these are pants, not only that, but you believe that these are pants that you actually bought for him.
Yes.
Okay. How far, once again, I realize you weren't there, your understanding, how far were the pants found away, I don't know, from the pit or where, the bait was? Do you even know, like 100 yards or quarter of a mile? Do you know?
They were on the other side of the A-hole going back towards the B-hole.
Huh. So they were on the opposite side of where they would have come up the incline to get there from the car.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So just for everybody to understand this, so let's just say DJ and Jimmy, get dropped off. They have the kayak and everything else. They go up, they're set up, whatever. For whatever reason, DJ goes out on the water. I'm not saying anybody has to believe this is just one example. But then he goes out on the, something, and somehow, though, the pants end up on the far side from where Jimmy and DJ would have approached the a-hole from.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. All right, let's move on to this. You've, of course, early in this conversation, you talked about how Teresa and Jimmy's stories have changed. Please, once again, your perception, give some examples of that.
Well, they said that they couldn't find him, so they were looking through the scope on the gun, and they saw him leaning over the side of the kayak. But then later they said that, they just found the kayak capsized. So, was he in it? He wasn't in it. It was capsized. Where do you think he went? Uh-huh. And Teresa has said that after she dropped him off, she never saw him after that.
Right.
So there's been variations in the story. And like I said, she said she woke him up out of the tent, and he said he never put the tent up. And it was all those little things that kept hitting us. And Jimmy made the statement to Teresa when they got back to the house, is we got to get our timeline and our story straight, so we're together on this.
You heard him say that?
Yes. I heard him, and so did Brian, and so did Robert.
And we also have to understand, of course, as you stated, Teresa seemingly came back home after dropping them off. So what she's saying is she went back out there at noon, and DJ's out there in the middle of the water hanging onto the kayak or something.
Yeah.
And of course, as I think we've shown, it doesn't seem like DJ did much fishing, if any fishing at all, given the bait, given the rod and reel, and everything else.
Correct.
So if he were fishing for all of those hours from getting dropped off at, let's say, 3:30 a.m., let's say he started fishing at 4 and she goes out there at noon, I guess we're to believe he didn't catch a dang thing over 8 hours.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay.
And that's, everybody that goes fishing with DJ always says, he always catches the first fish.
Ha! All right, I mean, I'm not trying to, obviously, none of this is funny. No, it's as serious as life gets. But on the other hand, we have to realize that, once again, if they're saying that they saw him out there in the kayak at noon, it means he was, they went fishing and there's no fish on shore. There's no proof that any of the bait got used. What was
right.
the rod and reels were on the kayak? Was the line on these rod and reels, was it even wet? There are a lot of ways to be able to tell if somebody's been fishing or not. It's just one of those things that doesn't sound like any fishing was happening at all.
Correct.
Okay. So these are the ways that the stories have changed, from that day until, maybe just hours later, days later. What have Jimmy and Teresa done with their lives since this all happened in May of 2024?
Well, as far as Jimmy, he was camping down at the A-hole right after he was asked to leave my home. Mm-hmm. So, but every time something would happen at the house, like the water would get shut off or something, you would look outside and you would see him sitting. There was a vacant house across the street, and he would be sitting on that porch or moseying up the street every time. When the electric company came to remove the meter, he was walking up the street. Every time they shut the water off, he was there. But that was never investigated. I don't know. made me feel very uncomfortable. And Brian talked to him about it and told him to stay away from the house. But he'd been staying up at the A-hole and camping up there, and then he went and stayed with one of the ladies that lives up near there, and then the next thing you know, he's calling friends from Pittsburgh to come get it, that he's out in Pittsburgh. Can somebody go get him? And that's never investigated. And so I don't know. Now he's living in Shamokin or Shenandoah, from what I hear. I don't know.
Okay. So
And
your
as far as
perception is you when you were staying still in the house, that Jimmy would just seem to appear at unique times.
Yes.
Okay.
And as far as Teresa, I don't know what she's doing.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Julie. I apologize. Please continue.
As far as Teresa, I have no idea what she's doing. She doesn't visit her daughter, who is in the house next door to where I lived.
Okay.
She hasn't seen her for months. I think last Christmas was the last, but I know she's living with her mother. Other than that, I don't know anything about her.
She hasn't, let me ask, well, being that you don't live in that same house anymore, would she have any way of contacting you to check in to see if, this disappearance was solved or anything? Did she know your phone number or anything?
Yeah, she knows my phone number.
All right, she's never called you?
No, and she also knows the neighbor's number, and they stay in touch with me, and she hasn't contacted them either.
Okay. I have to ask you a big question regarding all this. Being once again, it seems we have some unique timing on this disappearance, and what we're trying to figure out is there what we would say within, investigation circles and research circles, is there any causation or correlation? So I have to ask you, is there any proof that Jimmy and this deed guy, whose name we have not mentioned, any proof that those two knew each other? I know that it has been alleged, but just if the listeners know, or of course, there's these housing issues, paperwork issues, deed issues. Like I said, not my area of expertise. But then Jimmy, comes into DJ's life, and all of a sudden Jimmy's living at the place, and these paperwork issues continue, and then all of a sudden, Jimmy says, "Hey, DJ, I want to go fishing at the A-hole. Let's go." Seemingly nagging DJ. They go, and then DJ disappears, and guess what? All the housing problems go away.
Yep.
That's perception. So once again, is anybody, and I realize that it seems you have some of DJ's good friends who you trust who have been, know all about all this. And of course you have other children who know all about all this. Any connection ever been made between Jimmy and this guy who sold the house, then wanted to take it back?
We believe that Jimmy's daughter is from the seller of the house. It's his nephew or his niece and Jimmy have a child together. We believe that again is perception.
All right, so you're gonna have to go through that again. That got a little complicated with the relationship. Jimmy's daughter and
no, the girl that Jimmy had the baby with is the seller's niece.
Oh. Gotcha. All right, gotcha. So we have the guy, we have a brother or sister. That sibling had a daughter, and that daughter and Jimmy had a relationship, had a child together.
Yes.
I'll have to look into that. That might be something that can be shown maybe on somewhere online. Anybody? So once again, we're not saying that this is true, but I will ask you: when was this something that might have been brought up to you? How soon after the disappearance, Or maybe did you even know this maybe before DJ even went missing? When did this come into your mind, Julie?
No, it was after he went missing. We were trying to figure out why he was in the area, because Girardville is a coal mining town. And
I know where you're going. Just say it. I know where you're going with this. Just say it. Well, it's totally fine. I know where you're going, Julie. Be mean that we've already talked about this. Just go ahead and say it.
All right. Well, Jimmy's a black man, and Girardville, I don't think had any blacks. And suddenly he shows up, and why? Why would he come to Girardville?
All right. So what you're saying is, in that area of Pennsylvania, not a ton of minorities. This isn't Philadelphia. This isn't, right. Going to, back even down into Maryland, Delaware, if we're talking about Baltimore or other areas where minorities are, more likely live. That's just statistics. Whereas in that part of Pennsylvania, you don't see a lot of minorities, blacks or otherwise. But then perception is Jimmy, just as a black person, just kind of shows up at this bar when you're just really not used to seeing a lot of black people around that area.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Once again, this is not a racial comment. It is a statistical, factual comment. And I can even say from, even though I didn't live in Pennsylvania near there, I can tell you where I grew up in Pennsylvania, of course, my high school wasn't very big. There might have been maybe 10... This goes back to the 80s. Maybe 10 children of minority ethnicity or race. 10. That's it.
Yes.
So, and I think it's about the same to these days. Once again, doesn't mean it's a racial area or anything. It's just not where minorities live. And that's what we're saying about Girardville, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Okay. All right. So that was what kind of caught your attention.
Yes.
Okay. All right, but we should say that the guy who was selling this property, the deed problem guy, a white guy.
Yes.
Okay, white guy. Okay, but so we're still working on that. Is there a connection? Because if there is something like that, well, that certainly raises. We have to start maybe looking at this disappearance in a different way, and maybe already a lot of people already doing that. For you, and the audience, and for you, Julie, we should know that disappearances due to business problems fairly rare, but I would say maybe we've covered at least maybe a couple like that over the the last 9 years, but just something, we have to keep in mind. And certainly if we were to find out factually that Jimmy and the seller of the house had some sort of connection, and whereas Jimmy's portraying it, that he just kind of ran into DJ in a pool hall by accident, then because that's your perception, right? That DJ and Jimmy just ran into each other at that bar by circumstances, coincidence.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to this. How hard have the last year and a half been for you, Julie?
My phone rings. I run to answer it. There's a knock at the door. I run to see who's there. I pass somebody hitchhiking or walking down the road. I got to stop and check them. Mm-hmm. My heart knows my son is gone. But there's always that slight possibility, and I'm not willing to pass it up. My son and I were extremely close, extremely. He was the baby, and after my husband died, it was like, the others were married and have moved on, and it was just DJ and I, and life without my son has been tough, real tough.
Right, and I'm not worried. Who do you live with now?
Right now I'm with my cousin. He had knee surgery, and I've been here helping him since he can't get around very well. Yeah. But I've been between family members since last year now.
Okay.
So
people are taking care of you, and it sounds like you're taking care of him.
yeah.
Okay. All right. And what if, what about your other kids? You have several other kids. What have they said about this? How integral are they in all of this?
Well, the second oldest boy is the one who has been making the phone calls to the police to stay on top of it, and then letting the others know. But the police aren't giving them any more information than the police are giving me, which is basically,
right.
Well, we're checking it.
Okay.
So, but
okay.
it's I'm sure it's tough on them, but and I stay away because I don't want to be dragging my feelings in on their life. They've gone on, they have families and children, and they should go on, but I had DJ.
Right.
So, and my son from California next summer will be coming over.
Huh.
So
Great.
I know how he's taking it, but
yeah. Right. Okay. But you're still once again, I know you don't, but you've moved, but you really haven't moved that far away from Girardville, right? You're still in the
no.
You're in
60 miles.
All right, 60 miles. Okay. Not close, not far. Okay.
Right.
So right, and of course it's nice. I should maybe talk about Rachel a little bit more. How did you and she first come into contact with each other? How did that happen?
When it was posted about DJ drowning or going missing up there, Rachel contacted me to be a supporting person, somebody I had to talk to that could understand how I feel, because she was going through the same thing. And we've just gotten really close. It just happened. She's done searches for DJ, and I always give her my love and support. I told her I'm here 24/7. She needs to talk.
Yeah.
And that's how we got so close. But she's been a rock. I wouldn't have, many times I think, this is all, I just need to give up. And she said, it's going to get better. It will get better. Okay. But
right, and like we've already, like I think many listeners know, you of course know that Jesse's remains were found recently.
Yes.
Always very bittersweet. The people are looking, hoping that, the person's going to be alive, and then turns out the person's not alive. The search is over, but no, the search is over. So
right. It's like we have to grieve twice. We have to grieve at them being missing, and then we have to grieve when we find that they're gone. And it's two different grieving processes, and fortunately, she's through one, but that doesn't make the second one any easier.
No, it does not. Julie, do you have a Facebook page, website, anything like that set up for DJ's disappearance? If so, why don't you tell the listeners about it right now?
There is a Facebook page. It's DJ Hamaker, Still Missing, I think is what name. They put it as.
All right, so do you run that? Are you one of the people that gets on there and can see messages and posts and everything, or somebody else running that for you, or what?
It's Rachel and I.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. So she's, I don't think I knew that. So she's assisting you with the Facebook page too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Anything. She does the posters that get posted. Like I said,
Yeah.
Even the confidant to have somebody where other people look at you and say, it's been 18 months, you need to move on. That hurts.
Yeah, it
That
does. You
really
do not
hurts.
need, there's no reason to move on. Julie.
And she comprehends that.
Yeah.
So.
Right, and she, she had, of course, it wasn't her son that went missing like your son, but, man, she cared deeply about. They have at least, I think, one child together, and she had to live with that for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And that's what my grandson keeps saying is, what do we do next, Grandma? What can we do now, Grandma? And this poor young man, 13 years old, loses his dad, and a few months later, her stepdad died. And, he's just, and he had a great stepfather. But, and I feel for him. He's so confused. Why don't I deserve a father?
Right.
Did this happen because of something I did? So.
Right.
And I keep trying to reassure him that we're looking. We're still looking. Yep. Don't give up.
No. But it's tough, if the police are thinking, or the powers that be think this is a drowning, then where is he? It seems like divers have gone down there. There is historical proof that people who drown in the pit are usually found. So how do you explain DJ not being found?
Exactly.
How do you explain that? It's hard. It's hard to explain, and so when you start thinking about what needs to be done next. From an actual search point of view, I have to admit, it's a little hard to say. Because once again, if we're to think that he's not in the, that he didn't drown, then this starts looking like something of a foul play nature, or even maybe some sort of accident that was covered up or planned or something, and then it gets really difficult, complex very quickly.
Yes. And not only because every other person had been found, but because of his swimming abilities and his, kayaks don't just capsize. There's no movement in that water. It's still water, and it just, none of that makes any sense. And the boots being in the water. And so it was more like it was staged, because his boots wouldn't have been in the water. Why would his boots be in the water? He kept them dry so he could get off the mountain. None of it made sense.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, of course, he was not a young man, and, of course, 43-year-olds, I certainly could see, even if he were a good swimmer, let's say he gets out there and has a heart attack. Let's just say. Of course, you'd fall into the water, but then, why hasn't he been found?
Exactly.
We're not asking, we're not talking about searching one of the Great Lakes or the Gulf, the Gulf or the Atlantic Ocean or anything. This is not a small little tiny pond that somebody has in their backyard, but it's not exactly, miles wide
the Atlantic Ocean,
So what are we talking about? Right. Okay. Julie, any final words before we complete this interview?
Just thank you. Keeping his name and the information out there to the public is so vital. So I do appreciate all the help I get.
Yeah. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Julie. I'm glad that we've got to talk. I hope that we can continue to talk. I hope that we will stay in contact. You can tell me what's going on. Of course, Rachel knew. I did speak to Rachel a little bit. She did send me some helpful pictures and everything, and she knew we were doing this interview today, and I'm guessing that she will keep me updated as well.
Right.
And she can tell you that after she was on Unfound a few years ago, we at least spoke at least a couple times after she was on, things that were going on and searches that were being done and everything. So, of course, I hope DJ has found later today alive, tomorrow at the latest. But if that doesn't happen, I'm hoping that we can, stay in contact. Julie, you keep me, up on what's going on.
All righty. I will do that.
And thank you for being on this episode of Unfound.
Thank you for having me. You have a good day.
You too. And that was my November 16th, 2025 interview with Julie, mother of Donald DJ Hamaker. I thank her for joining me and all of you on this episode. I also made a map video to show you the A-hole and its surrounding area. Please find it on Unfound's YouTube channel. Once I had a chance to listen to the interview that I did with Julie, while I was re-listening to it and making sure everything came out okay, there was a part of it that we covered it, but I didn't think we went in depth enough regarding it. So right now, I'm going to go over that again. In fact, I messaged Julie asking her kind of the same question again, and I wanted to read it for all of you just so we are clear on how Jimmy and DJ came to know each other. So I'm going to read the response that Julie sent me through Messenger, and like I said, I know we covered it in the interview, but I think this is such an important part of this case that I thought we better go over it again. So here you go. Originally, Jimmy asked DJ for a ride to Frackville. DJ told him he wouldn't drive to Frackville that night, but he would take him the next day. Jimmy said he had nowhere to stay for the night. DJ told him he could sleep on our sofa for the night. When they got back to our house, Jimmy claimed to have called his girlfriend, and she told him he wasn't allowed back to her place if he didn't come home. DJ tried to take him to Frackville the following day, but Jimmy was locked out. She put he in here. I'm not sure what that means, but the sentence is, DJ tried to take Jimmy to Frackville but the following day, but he was locked out. I think he means Jimmy. Continuing, DJ said to him, I guess you'll have to stay with us, but you have 2 weeks to find a place. DJ knew Jimmy wasn't from the area and had nowhere to go. DJ went missing, I believe it was, maybe a week to 10 days later. So as you are thinking about this disappearance and all the different possibilities, theories, and theories that could exist, and I think there are at least maybe 3 or 4 or 5, and certainly if you're thinking about Jimmy as maybe a likely suspect or not a suspect at all, I think it's very important that you understand how that all went down. That's why I wanted to cover it again. I will start my summation here, once again referencing the interview, but at a later part of the interview compared to what I just talked about. And that is there any connection between Jimmy and the deed holder? I am limited by what the online databases tell me, and I could find nothing concrete. Yes, it does seem that the deed holder has a niece, and she seems to be close to the same age as Jimmy. But that is all I could establish. No proof the niece knew Jimmy or that they had a child together. Of course, if a connection could be made, I think it would then mean that it was a lot more than a coincidence that Jimmy ran into DJ at the pool hall or the bar, wherever it was, that particular night. My opinion. On the other hand, if there is proven to be no connection, then we should move away at least a little bit that the deed has anything to do with the disappearance. Allow me now to tell you a little bit more about the A-hole, and please check out the video I made on it as well. You can find it on Unfound's YouTube channel. As you heard in the interview, at its deepest, it's supposed to be about 300 feet down. And that's certainly important and could make any search tough. We must also, though, consider its surface area. How many square feet or square yards or square miles does it cover? Meaning, if we're looking down from space, How big is it? I did some quick calculations, and I'd estimate it to be about 600,000 square feet in surface area. Its length is just over a quarter-mile long at the longest, and at its widest, it's about 400 feet wide. However, it's not a perfect rectangle. It kind of looks like the state of Tennessee. Yes, long and skinny, but not a rectangle. So in layperson's terms, how large is the a-hole? Well, if you can, imagine a square that's 800 feet long on each side. Or another way to imagine it is 13 football fields. So yes, not small, and when you consider the depth, that's a lot of water. However, it has no current, it has no river running in or out. The bottom is almost certainly bare rock. So imagine a fish tank. That's what the a-hole is. Furthermore, as you heard, any person who has drowned in it has been found, and quickly. How then do we explain DJ not being found? Of course, the possibility of a staging of the scene has been brought up. Yet, if we were to stick to the non-foul play theories, despite the kayak being out in the water, I think we must entertain the idea that DJ could have walked off and his body is in the surrounding area on land. Certainly, if he had a heart attack or something while going to the bathroom in the woods, DJ would be harder to find there than in the water of the a-hole. I think. What I'm saying is, the water theory may not be the one that is best at holding water. If you'd like to hear and read more of my in-depth analysis into the disappearance of DJ Hamaker, please go to patreon.com/Unfound Podcast and sign up to partake in the Unfound blog. Until then, I leave the public theorizing up to you. And that's the program. I'm Ed Densel, and you've been listening to Unfound.